Mic check, mic check. What's going on? Welcome back to another hip hop snapshot. I'm your host, Ross Martinez, and today's snapshot isn't about bars or breakbeats. It's about paperwork. Hold on, yeah, paperwork sucks. But this is the paperwork, the kind that determines who gets paid and who gets played. Today, we're talking about the Music Modernization Act of 2018, a landmark law that finally tried to drag the music industry into the 21st century. And hip hop, it was at the center of why this shift had to happen. You know what to do. Grab that milk crate, take a seat. It's time to talk hip hop history. All right, let's go back to 2018. U.S. copyright laws were still playing by the rules written before the internet existed. The original statutes didn't account for these very important things that now are vital: streaming platforms, digital distribution, samples, or the way hip-hop flipped records into new records. That meant producers, beat makers, and even vocalists were getting skipped on royalties, uncredited for their work, and straight up left out of the money when songs blew up online. Even worse, artists who used samples, the heartbeat of hip-hop, were drowning in legal gray zones. And older musicians, some of them weren't earning anything from digital plays of songs they recorded decades ago. The law was outdated, the system was broken, and artists, especially black and brown artists, were the ones eating the loss. Change doesn't come easy. We know this. Change is an uphill battle at best. But pressure was building. The music community, hip-hop included, got loud. Advocacy groups like the Recording Academy and the Future of Music Coalition stepped up. Songwriters, producers, and artists testified before Congress. Hip-hop artists like Questlove, Ninth Wonder, and others supported the call for a system that paid back the creators who built the culture. And after years of fighting and fine-tuning, on October 11th, 2018, the Music Modernization Act, otherwise known as MMA, was signed into law. But let's break it down plain and simple, because this wasn't just one law. The MMA had three major big portions to it that you have to understand. Part one, the Music Licensing Modernization Act, right? This created the Mechanical Licensing Collective, MLC, a centralized system that collects and distributes digital and mechanical royalties. For the first time, streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music and even Amazon were required to pay songwriters and producers directly. Why does that matter for hip-hop? Producers who made the beats on laptops, not in studios, now had a way to collect legit royalties when songs streamed. No label? No problem. As long as your metadata was right, the MLC could cut you a check, which is good. Now the second thing, the Classics Act. Here we go. Before this, songs recorded before February 15, 1972 weren't protected by federal copyright. This meant legendary artists, including many soul, funk, and jazz legends that were sampled in hip-hop, weren't getting paid for digital plays. The MMA changed that. Now, old school creators could finally get compensated for their foundational work. Cool. Why does it matter for hip-hop, though? No more stealing from the greats without accountability is one. The Classics Act ensured that hip-hop's backbone, the sampled vinyl, got the respect and royalty checks it deserved. The third big component of this, the AMP Act, Allocation for Music Producers. This gave producers, mixers, and engineers the legal right to receive a share of royalties from sound recordings, something they'd been shut out of for decades. But why does it matter for hip-hop? Well, plain and simple, it meant folks like DJ Premier or Just Blaze or your dude down the street making beats in the studio now had legal standing. It validated the role of behind-the-scenes minds. The MMA was a win, but like all things in business, it came with very fine print. So what are the wins from this? Let's look at the positive first. Artists who were previously invisible got seen and got paid. Amazing. We love that. Independent musicians had clearer pathways to compensation. Who doesn't want that? Producers and engineers were finally recognized as co-creators. We love all of this, but here's the negative. Here are the challenges that we had to go through. The MLC is only as good as the data provided. If your info isn't input correctly, you still don't get paid. Sample clearance is still complicated. It hasn't got better. The law didn't solve the maze of clearing samples. It's still a battlefield, to say the least. Many artists aren't educated on how to register or claim royalties, so money still gets left on the table. So whether you're a boardroom producer or a young MC uploading to SoundCloud or a crate digger flipping dusty records into gold, the MMA was built with you in mind. But here's the truth of it all. The law might have changed, but the work is still on us. You need to know your rights, register your music, track all your credits. Because hip-hop isn't just a culture anymore. It's a business too. All right, with that, as always, dig in some crates, gain some knowledge. Above everything, be hip-hop. Maybe you got to modernize yourself. Get attuned with the legality of things. But don't stop creating. Just get smart of how you do it. All right, until next time, deuces.